The San Francisco 49ers Brandon Aiyuk trade rumors simply won't go away. And with it being Monday, another fresh week, we have more information coming out about how the San Francisco 49ers have actually asked for things in a potential Brandon Aiyuk trade. So this is getting very, very interesting. And if you don't remember how everything played out last week, it all started with uh, some random Twitter accounts posting about how Brandon Ayuk had followed some Jaguars players. And then you had a Jags insider comment under that saying that there's mutual interest between the Jags and Brandon Ayuk's camp. And then that insider, who is Mia O'Brien, went on 95.7 The Game and basically just unloaded all of everything that she's heard as a Jacksonville Jaguars insider about the interest the Jags genuinely have for BA, to the point of where she says Trent Baalke is out here calling on wide receivers to see who they can trade for after they lost out on Calvin Ridley. And she says sources inside the building says there is mutual interest between the Jags and Brandon Ayuk. So the Jags need a wide receiver. Ayuk, his camp, obviously want to get the best deal possible. So if that means leveraging other teams in these conversations, that could be a realistic option. Now, we aren't definitively saying that any of this stuff is happening, but what we are saying is this is very interesting to monitor. And so it continues to lead us down this path to where we have more things come out about the Brandon Ayuk situation thing going down today. So, according to the same Jags insider, she says, be prepared, folks. She says, as noted on XL Prime Time, 49ers reportedly would have wanted number 17 overall and Zay Jones. Let me say that one more time. 49ers reportedly would have wanted number 17 overall and Zay Jones. This means that this is coming from somewhere. This is someone is telling her via a report that the 49ers would have wanted number 17 and Zay Jones, which means this is a three-way conversation that is going on with this whole Ayuk situation. Again, prior to all of this and what she was saying before, it was just Ayuk's camp and the Jags that seemingly are, putting out feelers. Nothing really beyond that. But if we're talking about these things, because I think we have to all be honest with each other. Conversations happen all the time. These guys pick up the phone, they gauge interest. Doesn't mean anything is going to happen. The conversations happen though, and they just see. And so it feels like, again, where there's smoke, there's fire at a certain point. It doesn't mean that Brandon Ayuk is going to get traded to the Jags. It doesn't mean that any of that. But it's not going away. So I find it to be interesting. She goes on to say the Jaguars would have to pay Ayuk, so fizzling out. Basically saying that that's too much. Giving up number 17 overall and Zay Jones for the Jags to trade for Ayuk and again have to pay him as well. Again, you look at Brian Burns getting traded. He got traded for a second and a fifth. A big reason why the compensation was so low is because the Giants, who traded for him, had to pay him. So interesting. But her note at the bottom, if you look at this, says, hopefully this tweet will stop all the random Niners fans who have Facebook friend requested, IG DM'd me in the last 4 days. I would say that I know the fan base very well, and I'm not surprised at all that 49er fans have jumped into your DMs. They probably said some very nasty things to you. Listen, I've had my own followers say nasty things to me for just sharing her information. So imagine being her. I guarantee Niner fans have gone at her neck in the DMs. So, uh, but by her saying that, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Um, hopefully this tweet will stop all the random. What are we stopping? Is the point is that it's stopping is because you're revealing that the 49ers are in fact engaging in trade talks with the Jaguars, and to the point where they're talking actual compensation and they're actually giving offers back and forth. That's the part where I find interesting of what she had to say. Again, we've talked about it many times. This portion of the year, it's smoke season. There are plenty of these types of conversations that go on all the time. We've seen these conversations happen with Debo Samuel. We've seen them happen with multiple other players before, whether publicly known or behind closed doors. It's just how the league works. It's a business at the end of the day. I know fans can get very attached to players and things like that, but at this stage and where we are at in the offseason, teams are looking at the long-term health of the cap. They're looking at other players that need to be paid. There's just a lot of different moving parts here. I know every single 49er fan wants to pay Brandon Aiyuk. I know, and myself included, we don't want to trade Brandon Aiyuk. I don't think anyone is saying this. All we are doing is simply sharing the information and then talking about it. And so, again, Mia has been right in the middle of all of this. So not only was she the one who alerted everyone that there was mutual interest between the Jags and Brandon Ayuk's camp, she like tripled down on that information by expressing how that came to be, and gave a ton of info and behind the scenes look at how those conversations occurred and what has ultimately come from it, and to the point of confirming that Trent Baalke is out here looking to trade for a wide receiver like Brandon Ayuk. And now on Monday, she is sharing that the 49ers have reportedly offered up number 17 overall Zay Jones in exchange for obviously Brandon Ayuk. That's what the 49ers want in return. They're not offering up those. That's what they want in return. So it does sound like that it's not going too far. And, if we want to take a look back and compare this to the 49ers shopping Debo Samuel, the 49ers got some reported offers on Debo Samuel, but it just wasn't enough. They got one from the New York Giants that I recall that it wasn't, they didn't feel like the value was there. So they kept Debo and they paid him. So when I look at the 49ers potentially asking for pick 17 and Zay Jones, honestly, that doesn't seem too far fetched in regards to like what you'd want to get in a trade. I wouldn't like to do that, to be honest with you. I would rather keep Brandon Ayuk. And again, Zay Jones is also a former draft crush of mine coming out of East Carolina. I think Zay Jones is a great player, but he's not Brandon Ayuk. And number 17 overall, you might be able to guarantee you get one of the top, offensive linemen in the class. Or if you want to go for another wide receiver, you could potentially do that as well. But I don't even love that. I really don't. Um, so we'll see. Well, I mean, we'll see how this plays out. Um, there's a lot of smoke. At regardless if you want to say this is real, this is fake, it's smoke. And one of the biggest things that has been an indication of stuff being real is the smoke. Is that doesn't mean it's always going to turn out how the smoke comes across. But again, the saying where there's smoke, there's fire. And there is a lot of smoke here around Brandon Aiyuk getting traded to the Jags to the point now where we have three levels to this. Before we didn't. Before we just had two levels. Before it wasn't being reported like the 49ers were involved. Now it's being reported like the 49ers are involved. And again, this is a credentialed media member for the Jags. She's a journalist. She works for their flagship. I know when a lot of people see this, the first thing they go to is, oh, they're looking for clout, looking for this, looking for that. I don't know. I can't be the one to say yes or no, but I find it very interesting. So I'm curious to know what you guys think about all of this. I'm curious to know what you guys think about this Mia O'Brien continuing to just share information about this potential ongoing conversation between the 49ers and the Jags, potentially having conversations about trading Brandon Ayuk. Very, very interesting. Let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.